Hi, Mike. How are you?
I'm doing swell, Bob. How you doing this fine Tuesday?
I am great. It's Tuesday, so we're here. It's Pop Culture Squadcast Live, episode 140 something or other. I don't know. We'll get there. We have a great guest that's going to be here with us tonight who is coming back to the show. He was in our first 10 or so episodes, and we're super happy to have Cullen Bunn back. And Hi, how are you?
Hey, Sherry.
Um, we are we're going to talk about some stuff a little bit before we bring him in. Um, it's uh it's you know uh that time of year where I want to take a minute and just remind everybody that Pop Culture Squadcast Live, this episode, this show you're watching or listening to is an extension of the Pop Culture Squad, which is a website that has a bunch of great articles about opinions and things. There's a good article out today from our good friend Mark Fishman. He's taking WWE to task on their I believe he called it their professional improvement plan of what he needs to get they need to get done. Also, you want to stay tuned this next few weeks because as I was at Ithacon this past weekend or a couple weeks ago, um, one of the things that one of our good friends Ed Cato, who runs the With Further Ado column, does is every year he assigns his students to write a column on pop culture or whatever it is they want to do is fandom, and so he selects a few of them and we run them every Wednesday. And so last week was the first one, and it was one of his students, remembering the remembering the Hannah Montana in 20 years. There's a new one coming. I'm not sure who G Dub is, but Cullen's here. He'll be here in about 10 minutes or so. So if you want to leave, come back. But we got a couple things we're going to talk about, but he is here. We'll bring him through. Um, you want to start us off with something?
Well, yeah, let's start on a happy note
Let's
because
do
there are
that.
so many less happy notes out there. After arguably too long a time, the city of New York finally gave Jack Kirby what he's due, which is Jack Kirby Way. They unveiled that street sign right in front of the place where he there you go right where he grew up, which and I believe the building is still standing there. Dean Haspiel showed us all a photograph of that a couple of weeks ago, and I spent a lot of time in the Lower East Side, many decades after Jack grew up there, of course. But instantly, I think I was first there in 68 or 69. Instantly, I recognized this is Jack Kirby. The streets are Jack Kirby's streets. Everything looks like Yancey Street here. And in back in those days, you can even see, the sort of Jack Kirby and the Simon and Kirby sort of mugs, the faces and the hats and just it was there. It was like reading Fantastic Four number 3, or was it number 4? Number 4, where where Johnny Storm quits the group and goes to the Bowery. The Bowery is right around the corner from that sign, and it looked in Kirby's book much better than it looked in real life at that time, because you can only the inker's only going to ink in so many cracks in the bricks, but it's that attitude, the smells, you can get the smells, and that is the essence of Jack's work. That is the background, and it is so nice to see the city give a little bit of it back. They had an unveiling for the Fantastic Four movie, but that was sort of a soft unveiling, if you will. And
Mhm.
yesterday they did the real thing. Huge crowd. It made all the news. Big segments on broadcast news. And God damn it, That's great. I mean, not only does it honor a man who deserves that tribute as much as anybody, more than most in the comics field, but it's it's the future for us all. It's like everybody who makes a type of contribution that Jack made may be honored, can be honored. If you're in a smaller town, hey, there's a Bob Montana statue up in New England, the guy who created Archie Andrews. You know, we are beginning to get the credit we deserve. It's been a few decades that this has been building, but yesterday that was it. That Jack Kirby Way, I'm there.
I thought it was great. We talked earlier. I've been busy with my other life, and but I'm so sad I missed it. I would have liked to go up there. I know a bunch of people who did, and it looked like it was a great celebration of our medium and the rock at the foundation of it.
My only disappointments, other than the fact that I couldn't make it, which became clear a few days ago, uh, is the fact that if I did make it, I'd want to go to lunch at any one of a number of my favorite restaurants in that area, and I would not have been able to get into any of them.
Well, there's that. So I guess there is a silver lining in your ability in your non-going.
Yeah, sure.
I want to I want to pivot to some other news that's not necessarily negative, not necessarily, well, whatever. It's not negative.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. So Marvel has made an announcement. They are launching a new dark line. I don't know. The Ultimate Universe is over. I felt like it had great potential and fizzled. Um, I will say that I have finished Ultimate Spider-Man, and I think it's one of the best Spider-Man runs in a long time. I definitely absolutely love that book. The rest of it, didn't fizzled. Is I think the best way to put it. But anyway, so there's a new line that they're launching later this fall, or summer and fall. It's called Midnight, and the tagline is "The light had its turn." Um, they've so far announced 3 books: X-Men, Fantastic Four, and Spider-Man, with some big names on them. X-Men is Jonathan Hickman with Matteo Delafonte. Fantastic Four is Benjamin Percy with Kev Walker, and Spider-Man is Philip Kennedy Johnson with Cy Tronk. I'm not familiar with them, but I mean, those are big titles. Don't know where this is going to go.
So that's okay. Nor do they. They don't know where it's going to go. I'm kind of surprised that they found a name for this line, if it is a line, call it Midnight. It's really tough to trademark that. You can't manipulate that word very much or sell it in merchandising with protection, but that's okay. I mean, not everything has to be done for the lawyers. I just don't see the point. Okay, these guys are monsters, and we all do this whole dark horror thing. Fine. We got plenty of dark horror books out there, dark and horror books out there.
I mean, there are a lot of dark and horror books out there that are being marketed and selling well, and Marvel obviously wants to throw their hat in the ring. And these are people, good writers. Ben is certainly somebody who can talk horror related. But it's I mean, there is this comment in the gallery that says Marvel launching a horror line without Cullen Bunn is a joke, hard pass. And I will tell you, G-Dub, that when I mentioned it, I did see in backstage a little smirk. So we won't talk about that. Maybe we will.
Well, not until he's here. We're not going to
Yeah.
talk about him in front of his back.
Right. So yeah, I mean, there's plenty of other things. I think there'll be more to come, but here's the thing, and this is one of the things that we kind of talk about on the show, is that it does, telling a comic book story is telling a comic book story. It's using the medium to tell an interesting story with characters that exist or characters that are new. It's all kind of what you're trying to do. When it gets problematic is when people put too much emphasis on, well, this is supposed to be this way, and I already know how it is. Well, if you already know how it is, then why are you even reading the book?
Right. Well,
Right?
to get mad.
Well, exactly. But here's a character that has some level of experience. You're gonna take pieces of that experience and you're gonna use that character and that experience to tell an interesting story. That is the goal, right? That is the goal that people have sometimes. And there are corporations out there that own properties that want those properties to be portrayed in comic book medium. So they have to hire people to do it. And that's what it is, work for hire. So those people who work for hire, Jonathan, Benjamin, Philip, are going to try and tell the most interesting stories they can, with characters that other people own.
Right. That's why they're working at Marvel, among other places.
Exactly. Among other places, all of them.
Right. Right. Absolutely. I don't really have a problem with these types of stunts, except for the fact that they wind up being stunts and not stories all too often. My problem with this, and this would be true for the launch of any line from Marvel or DC, is that when they say, okay, we got this thing, it's called Midnight, and we have 3 titles with our 3 biggest properties right up there. And I know for a fact, I mean, I'd be willing to bet the rent, folks, that within 3 months or 6 months, there'll be a dozen different Midnight books. Unless, of course, nobody cares, which seems unlikely. People care for a month or two, but then by then you have to deliver. Sure. They got good writers, good artists on these books. I'm just beginning to think that, we had the superhero genre embraces the dark as great storylines for the superheroes and maybe supervillains for that matter. But the other way around, we're going to embrace the dark and then bring our heroes into it. So they've already got a place to live. They're already telling their stories. Keep it going.
The light
Keep
had
it going
its turn.
forward.
The light had its turn. Now it's time for the dark to take hold.
How many times have we heard that? It's been
there have been good stories. There have been things that are interesting. They're not my favorites, but some guy has Deadpool kill the entire Marvel universe several times over.
Mm-hmm. Well, Deadpool's a little different.
Well,
just ask him.
So I'm not offended by the darkness. One of the things we were talking about is, some of the decisions that Marvel has made editorially haven't panned out great lately. And you were mentioning, one of the things earlier before we got on the air about the difference with corporate ownership at Marvel and Disney and what you think people there are having to deal with. And I want you to expand on that.
All right. I will tell you what I know people are having to deal with, and then what I suspect. Whenever there are changes that we don't like, we tend to look at the editorial people involved, either on staff, the editors and the bureaucracy above that, or amongst the freelance community, or why did they hire that guy? And sometimes that's true, but there's a lot more going on than just that. There are executives, the first level of executive over editorial that can screw around with our getting our monthly slice of joy is the marketing department. This shit won't sell, so we're not going to do it. Well, how do you know it won't sell? Well, it's never sold before. We've never done it before. This is an argument I have had hundreds of times at DC, and not as quietly as I just made it now, I should point out. But right now, all the media companies are on the ropes. They're losing money to streaming like you would not believe, and they have no idea how to get the hell out of it. Broadcasting is already dead. All the TV stations are owned by like 2 or 3 different companies, and they're all friends of the presidents, which does limit opportunities quite a bit. But right now, Disney just laid off 10% of their staff. Disney owns Marvel. Disney owns Marvel Comics, Marvel Studios, Marvel Television, Marvel bubblegum cards. And the guys who are running Disney don't know if they have a job tomorrow. So they're going to do whatever they can to paint the room in a color that their masters are going to like. Ultimately, it comes down to Mickey Mouse in a red room in Burbank laughing maniacally at how he controls the earth.
I thought the room was going to be green. I thought that that's the color they like.
They would sell it. They would, if it was green, they would sell it. So everybody is making decisions based upon what they think the guy above them, and it usually is a guy, not always, is going to make, and how that's going to determine their future and whether they're going to have a job 6 months from now, because there's another round of firings coming up. Whether it's done all at once like the last one was, or whether it's spread out, remains to be seen. But it's going to happen, and the reason why it's going to happen is not because they're not doing well enough. It's because, there are divisions that are, there are divisions that aren't. It's becoming clear that the model for streaming is wrong, but needed, and they the whole industry screwed themselves by, okay, we're going to put movies into all of this, we're going to put TV into all this, we're not going to have TV, the movie theaters are dying on their own, thank you. And it's not movies that are going to save the movie theaters. I guarantee you that. So everybody is, as I quote all the time, and attribute to Mel Brooks, who made the movie, we've got to protect our phony baloney jobs here, gentlemen.
Yep.
And that's from Blazing Saddles, by the way. And that's what's going on. We don't know, what any line editor or the editor-in-chief or they have group editors at Marvel. We don't know what pressures they're under, but we know, and nor do they, I should point out, but we know where those pressures come from. And the economy sucks horribly. It's getting worse. Discretionary income is being eaten up by gasoline.
Don't you know credit card spending is through the roof? It's so amazing.
Well, yes. The Trump administration thinks it's a wonderful thing. I think being in debt is a bad thing. Republicans don't feel that way, though.
For us, they feel it's fine for us to be in debt.
Well, yeah. Well, the concept of debt is something they just don't understand. Debt is a temporary thing. I mean, tomorrow you'll have billions.
If you for a phone that nobody will ever have.
At $100 a shot, which, by the way, I guess we're going to have to explain this one because I got it down to a car story. But the backstory here is that a year ago, Trump started taking $100 deposits for a gold Trump phone, like an iPhone, but it's a Trump phone. And he's got 59 million worth, or is it
590,000 people.
590,000 people involved in this.
$59 million.
Right. They've already invested. Their money is in the Trump family's hands, not the IRS's, I should point out, but the Trump family hands. And it doesn't seem like there's going to be a phone. I mean, it was promised last August, and nobody has said a word since then about when or if.
Well, they delayed it, and now they've changed the terms of service statement that says your deposit is not a deposit. That's right. It is an investment in the possibility of possibly getting a phone at some point, which they do not have to ever commit to.
That's right. They changed the terms. They added one term: "We can screw you to hell." So that's what that little piece of information comes from. The latest Trump shenanigans. I mean, I didn't put $100 in. Where was this going? We tied this into
something about this. Well, we're just talking about the economy is getting worse, and that nobody really.
Oh cares. Yeah,
and so we're right. This is a tough situation, but I think we've hit on the fact that we are hopeful to get good comic stories. We also are recognizing the fact that there are corporate entities involved that may limit our ability to get that from certain places.
And that's always been true.
And it's always been true. One of the things that we're going to talk about tonight, and we'll spend a decent amount of time talking about it, is places where there is that sort of corporate overreach or over editing or whatever is trying to hold that back.
Well, let me make one comment.
Well, I'll make one comment. Then we're going to bring in our guest because I just want people to know he's coming.
Yes. We just got to get Gold to shut the hell up. I wonder if the model that DC and Marvel believe in of having 15 books out for each character category, maybe more, X-Men, I can't count that high. And whether they go from stunt to stunt, forcing people to buy so many extra books. Because when you don't have food on the table and you can't afford to gas up the car to get the food that you can't afford to put on the table that is bare, chances are you're not going to be buying 7 different Spider-Man books next week. It's just a guess here. It's not. It doesn't seem like it's a good way. Well, to be publishing anyway, but it doesn't seem like a good way to be planning this downturn that we're in.
Yeah, I know. That's disappointing. We don't want to. Let's. Cream rises, so let's make good comics, and hopefully people will be able to get them, and hope that the world gets better instead of keeps getting worse. So I want to talk. I want to. We're not going to stop. This conversation is not over because I want to bring our guest, and we're going to talk about some of this stuff with him. But I want to get him in because I know there's some folks waiting to see him, and it's been a long time since we've had him on the show. So welcome back, Cullen Bunn, to the Pop Culture SquadCast. And also, just before I even push this button, last time Cullen was on the show was a really long time ago, and my intros were very mediocre. So here is a full-on Cullen Bunn intro. Hey, Cullen, how are you?
All right. Did you do some sort of chronological
There's
posting of my
chronological.
comics? That there were a few in there that I didn't remember.
That is my
Yeah,
hope.
yeah,
That is what I hope, and I hope to hear every time. There. You know, it's fun for me when I do that, and I look back at some of the stuff that we have with guests. I'm like, oh fuck, I forgot he did that. Oh man, I like that. Oh, I forgot he did that. You know,
I did an interview not 2 or 3 months ago, and it was about the movie Lord of Illusions, based on a Clive Barker short story. And I started talking about how I had read this Shadow comic that was a tribute to Lord of Illusions. And as I'm pitching this, I'm telling these guys about this comic, I realized, oh hell, I wrote that comic.
you wrote that one,
and I had forgotten it. So,
that's good. Yeah, that's good.
that guy can really write the Shadow. Let me tell you.
it was like, this is my favorite Shadow comic of all time. I couldn't remember who wrote it. Oh wait,
I did. Yes.
You know,
it was me.
I like your work on the Shadow, I have to say. And the Shadow's been a favorite character since, long before Earth cooled. So there's
what's
that.
funny is that we've spent a lot of time talking about the Shadow last few weeks.
Have we?
We have. We've told a couple of interesting stories, but
that weed of crime.
besides, we can always talk about the Shadow. There's nothing wrong with that. He knows. I want to talk about this, kind of what we were talking about just before we brought you in. So 2 years ago, you and I were talking, and you were dissatisfied with comics industry. I believe your words were, "I'm fucking done."
What? What?
I can't.
What are
I'm
you
done with
talking
this shit.
about? I love comics and all that it entails, and
Okay.
thank goodness that.
Okay, we do have footage here.
Look, no gotcha moments.
No, I was disappointed. I am a huge fan of your writing. I love what you do, and but I understood what you're coming from, because you are an example, perfect example of somebody who has been mistreated by corporate comics, and all of that. But I think I want to turn first and say, what is it that has you excited about writing comics these days?
Look, so 2 years ago,
let's just I'm just saying.
2 years ago, I was done. I was ready to stop writing comics and go back and get another marketing job or whatever other job I could fake my way into, because I've been really good throughout my life at faking my way into different career paths, including comics. And yeah, you showed the ignition symbol there. You can so if you are upset that I'm still in comics, you can blame Ignition. And if you're glad that I'm still doing comics, you can thank Ignition, because if it was not for Ignition Press, I would not be doing comics right now. I would have, and frankly, I would have no interest in doing comics right now.
What did they provide that made you change that? What type of atmosphere did they provide that made you change that attitude?
So over my career, I have had editors who have been very supportive. I've had collaborators who've been very supportive. I've never had a full-on every aspect of a publisher be as supportive as Ignition is. And it's hard to explain unless you've been in on it. They when they started up, their whole line was they were going to be supportive of creators and trying to do things that would help creators and help the comic industry as a whole. And all I can tell you is they walk the walk. I mean, it's night and day in terms of having a
Whoop. Are we frozen?
No, I'm here. He's frozen.
He's frozen. So Cullen is frozen. So we can assume that the folks from corporate America have been listening.
They are holding him back.
And they're holding him back. Yeah.
He is.
It's a lame new world.
He mentioned earlier that he was going to name names. I'm going to pull him out and see if he shows back up down there. He will be back. I guarantee it. But I'm going to text him. One of the things that we talked about he's coming back in. We talked about Ignition. We talk about that publisher a lot. I think it really comes from the leadership there. The folks, whether it's Philip Sablik or Jamie Rich or Jeremy Hahn or Eric Gitter, who's the producer behind on the other part of it. They took a look at how comics are made and decided to do things a little bit differently. That was their question. That was their goal before they decided to do anything. Their goal was, what can we do differently? And Cullen is back sideways.
Oh,
so
you lost weight.
Well, thank you. My internet on my computer my internet throughout my house crashed. Okay. So I'm actually on my phone right now, holding my phone in my hand.
And it looks, and to be honest with you, you got good cell service. It looks fine.
Well, good. So sorry about that, folks. I thought it was Big Comics taking me out as I was ranting.
We did too. We said that. Go back and watch it. We definitely said that.
Yeah, no. So I apologize. So you're getting me through my phone right now. The bottom line is, it's comics. It's a comics publisher doing what every comics publisher should do, which is be supportive, and that's what Ignition Press has been doing. It's all above board. They support you. They do the right thing.
Well, you just helped me out a lot, because 40 years ago, I was pissed, and I remain pissed at the designation of independent comics. Because what they mean by independent comics, what they meant then and what people tend to mean now, is everybody but DC and Marvel. Well, some of my best friends labor in those fields, and corporations are evil. I'm willing to go along with that, but nobody's independent from them. They listed Disney Comics. They published their own comics in those days. They listed Disney Comics as an independent publisher, which today is hilarious, but was funny back then too. So now Big Comics. I like that. Cullen, thank you. I'm going to steal that.
Big Comics, like Big Tobacco.
Yeah, that's it. Wow. And you're a Carolinian, aren't you?
I am.
Yeah, I thought I got the accent. So yeah, that's an informed statement.
Well, I'm not in Carolina anymore. I grew up in Carolina. Yeah,
you can't escape it.
No, never.
Oh yes, you can. You can train yourself out of an accent.
So
this accent is 30 years out of North Carolina, so it doesn't go away. It doesn't go that far away.
It doesn't go far at all. Yeah. I want to talk a little bit about some comics first. We'll get to some other things, but let's talk about. Deluge finished. It's the first Ignition book to finish its first arc, and it was a 5-issue arc. I'm going to give my impression. Deluge is the story of a women's prison that is flooded by a natural disaster, and they need to evacuate, but something unexpected rises from the water and causes death and murder and all kinds of horroring things, and it's finished. And as I mentioned to you earlier off stage, I really enjoyed this book, and I really enjoyed how you brought it to a close. What was you? I know this inspiration is based on some level of reality, and it's always one of the best ways that you write. Um, what was this? What was the inspiration behind Deluge?
Yeah, there is a not far from where I live, there is a ruined structure, this massive, sprawling, weed-covered building, and I've always been fascinated by it. Uh, so I started researching it, and come to find out, it is the ruins of a women's prison that that flooded in the 90s. And during that flood, they had to ferry the inmates out on boats. They had to put them on buses and tractor trailers and drive them off to wherever. Uh, and I've just always loved that story, and it got me thinking about how a women's prison is such a great locale for stories about guilt and forgiveness and what is
Rage.
justice, rage. All these things are kind of bundled up in it. So that's where this story came from. And of course, because it's me, I said, well, let's add a horror element to it, and there we go. That's what we did the the mysterious creatures that rise up with the floodwaters.
Am I to assume that these 5 issues that have just been completed will be out on trade paperback within an hour or two?
A couple.
Not an hour, but I think August is when
Okay.
sometime around August is when the trade for Deluge comes out.
Yeah, sometimes they'll one of the big comics guys will put together reprints of some of the stuff I was involved with from 30 years ago, and I'll look at that stuff and go like, why is my name here? And now this stuff gets reprinted like tomorrow. So it's like weird. It's very weird.
No, Deluge is towards the late August is when I think Deluge comes out in trade paperback.
According to Jamie Rich's synopsis at the end of Deluge number 5, it's August.
Jamie wrote a synopsis at the end of that.
Yeah, there's a whole thing about putting it together, and I read it. Jamie wrote it, so
I'm assuming it's just like Cullen's the greatest. Thank goodness. Thank God for Cullen Bunn.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. There's a lot of Marika. Let's be honest, she really killed it in this, and I've been a fan of hers for a long time.
Yeah, Marika's great.
Did you bring her in? How did you guys Cresta is the artist on the book?
Yeah, so I pitched the book without an artist, and Jamie, she was one of the artists Jamie brought in and suggested, and I'm so glad she did the book. It's not an easy book to draw, because I mean, you think about, in comics, okay, superheroes, they all have different costumes. That's because if you draw them differently, you can still recognize who they are. But in Deluge, these characters are all wearing the same. They're all inmates. They're all in the same clothes.
They're all women about the same build, wearing dark hair, and and you're right. That was tough work, and she did a great job.
It was not something I considered when I wrote the script or the pitch. But Marika did such a great job of distinguishing each of those characters and giving them each personalities. It was not an easy task. But she's so good at it. I can't say more than what I'm about to say, but Marika and I are working on our next book together for Ignition.
Is that the book that I am aware of? Is she doing that book?
I don't think it's a book you're aware of.
Oh my God, I'm excited.
Oh, look at that. You just blew his mind.
I don't think it's a book. I mean, I don't know how many top secret books you're aware of, but I
Well,
don't think that's one
I
of
do
them.
know about one. I do know about one. You've talked about one that's coming, but I don't think she's the one working on that one.
No, Marika and I are working on another book together, and it's great. And she's, I mean, as amazing as she is in Deluge, the next one is, I think, even better. So
It's so
it's
great.
great.
You know, we talked about this earlier, and so how many, when I go ahead and I look back at the people that you've worked with in your career, especially earlier in their careers, and how they've moved on. Like I remember, Marika is somebody like I've seen her work for a long time. She did a book. She did a book with Erica Schultz that I really loved a lot. I can't remember the name of it right now. Forgotten Home or something like that. I think it was. But she's just to see people elevate their craft. I mean, you do it as a writer. You've done it for the last 15 years or more. 20 years.
The last I did it for the first 5 years, then I plateaued, and then I've just been
There's
myself.
been the last
from
8
that point.
have been some really great stuff.
But
I'm
you've
not saying
become
we're bad.
you've
I'm just
become a
saying
better
there's
person
been
for it.
there's been some definite.
Well, I
definite
appreciate you saying that, but I've also become a worse person over the years. I mean, I just have to be honest with myself. Less talented, worse of a person. So,
Yeah, disagree. So Deluge is the first book that you did. But there is more. Where's this? Let's get there. I want to talk about the next book that you have out there, which is still going on, Ripcord. Let me tell you, Ripcord is the book that just grabbed me from probably more than any other first issue from Ignition. And I love them all. But I didn't know what I was going into with Ripcord, and I was like, okay, I need all of this now. It is I love the fact that this is set in like Australian outback, am I right?
correct.
And I love the fact that I am reminded of that occasionally in the book, because there are things that I'm like, oh yeah, they're Australian. Like it could be any desertish area, but it is definitely Australia, because there are things that you pick up, and I love the way that you've incorporated that as a writer into it. But talk about this book just for a minute.
Ripcord's a very different book from Deluge. Now, Deluge has its moments of violence, right? There are moments of extreme violence in Deluge that just spring up out of nowhere and engulf the story that's going on around them. But Ripcord is this book that the violence is baked in from moment one, and this is a violent,
and
mean
moment 2
world.
and 3 and 4 and 5.
It is a violent, mean, vicious world, and we've got a character, Dylan, who's our lead character. She is looking for her sister, and she is a character who, as violent as this world is around her, she's built to manage it, and then from there, it could just be this.
Back out.
It could just be this story of this action adventure story, but from there we kind of build in this sort of, there's a weird mythology to Ripcord that runs as an undercurrent to the whole thing. And in most cases, just like I don't really go out of my way to say, hey, this is Australia, in most cases I don't say, here's the mythology, pick it up. There are little bits and pieces of mythology that are sprinkled in throughout the story that build to something bigger. But yeah, I look, it's fun to do a book where where characters are just getting chewed to pieces right on the page. Yeah, and Anna Kay, the artist,
Stabbed in
she
the eye.
Yeah, or stabbed in the eye. I mean, it's in the second issue. Dylan finds this gun that I call the ogre, and the ogre is a Gatling gun that shoots railroad spikes. So if you can imagine the damage a railroad spike being shot, multiple railroad spikes being shot from a Gatling gun would do to someone, and then Anna Kay draws that
She did.
in vivid detail.
Man, let me tell you, that's the first issue was great. The second issue was just a nonstop, like, oh my god, what's gonna happen next? And this character, she is. I'm looking forward to finding out more about her because
Well,
there's a very few characters I've seen that are as quick to extract to employ violence to the level that she does without question. Like, there's no, hey, maybe I might be wrong here. It doesn't matter. I'm just going to do this horrible thing.
Well,
Because it doesn't matter if I'm wrong or not. I don't care. Right? Like, it feels like that. Like, she's like, well, this might be a good person. I might be wrong, but too bad.
Who knows if she is? Or if they are. The question Ripcord poses is, how far will you go to save the life of someone you love, and would you stop at anything? And there's the question you have to ask yourself, and that's the question Dylan has to ask herself as she moves forward in this story. And her answer might not be the same as my answer.
Right.
I mean, spoiler alert, it is. But
but the story isn't about you, it's just written by you.
Sometimes the story is about me too. So spoiler alert, I would stop where Dylan would stop, which is nowhere.
So we talked about these two books. The issue 3 is probably out. I haven't been to my shop in a couple weeks. Like I said, I've been super busy.
I think it may have just come out. Yeah,
or it's coming out this week or next week, because there's no, or there were no, maybe there are books this week, but there weren't any last week. I don't know. Bree was upset about it.
But there's all that lovely free stuff.
Yeah. So there, you've said earlier that Ignition brought you back. That Ignition is the book, because we talked in March when I was when we were in Kansas City, and I said, I really enjoy Autumn Kingdom, which is another book that you came back to volume 2 in, and I'm gonna tell I said I really love that book. I loved it when it came out. I'm enjoying volume 2, and your words to me was Autumn Kingdom wouldn't have kept me in comics. Not that there's anything wrong with that book. It's a great book. But there's something about Ignition and what you're being able to do here. So
me saying doing books for Ignition is what kept me in comics is not to disparage what some of the other publishers I've worked with have done, because I've worked with some great publishers. I've worked on books that I dearly love, but it takes, there's a lot of pieces in order to, it's
I'm going to challenge you on that. I don't know that you've worked with some great publishers. You've worked for really good editors with support.
No, I don't think that's right. I have worked with some publishers that I genuinely admire. Oni Press, that's where I got my career started, and I've loved Oni Press for years. Dark Horse has published some great stuff over the years, and I've loved working with Dark Horse.
And they all
Mad Cave, I think, is a great publisher that I've worked with over the years. Boom has published some books that I loved, and I loved working with Boom. But over the years, the playing field narrows.
But they've all changed too since you.
The publishers change, and that's what a lot of folks don't necessarily get. Look, let's say this: I loved working for Marvel. When Axel Alonso was editor-in-chief, I loved working for Marvel. But what a lot of readers don't get is how quickly it changes if someone leaves, and it can be someone on top, it can be someone lower down the food chain. One editor leaving can end everything for for working with that publisher. And if you are one of the creators who's leveraged very heavily into working with a specific publisher, it can be a career killer.
Sure.
And I know folks who have had their careers just destroyed because one person left the job. And that's not great. That's terrible. I mean, and there were moments while I've been writing, the reason I was still able to make a living is because I diversified so heavily
Sure.
over the years. I mean, from the very beginning, I was working with as many publishers as I could. And now I've look at this. Now I've just changed. And I'm like, no, let me go against everything I've ever taught myself.
Well, listen,
but-
you've done things to put yourself in a position to make that decision, right? If you hadn't done the things you had done throughout your career, you wouldn't be in a position to make the decisions you made now.
Absolutely. Everything leads down the broken road. to quote a Rascal Flatts song. I think it's Rascal Flatts. If my wife's watching right now, she's gonna be like, "It's not Rascal Flatts, it's someone else." But it probably is. But God bless that broken road. Yeah, you end up where you end up, and uh, great job on all the other people who've managed to make it. There are a lot of people who didn't, who have not made it, and a lot of people who genuinely love comics, genuinely love telling great stories, who are not able to do that right now.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. I hate to put a negative spin on that, but
Let's do it.
let's do it. The people I really feel sorry for are mostly dead now. They were the guys.
Man, you really did go negative. Holy shit.
They're mostly guys from the men and women from the generation before me. And when they were working in comics, even when there was more than just the big comics guys, they were pretty much promised a lifetime job, not necessarily with the same publisher, but except for like in the early 50s when half of all the publishers went out of business, you were quite likely to be able to get a job, assuming the company you had been working with no longer employs you. And then one day we said, screw that. We're all going to be doing celebrities. We're going on the star system. So, Kurt Swan, thank you for your 40 years doing Superman. You're unemployed. And there were many others. So those were the people that I really hurt for because they got into the job. I know this is going to sound strange to so many people, but because it was a secure job.
That does sound strange.
It was,
I
though.
know.
I mean,
I don't like that.
You had a job. You worked for a publisher, and or sometimes you go to work for the other publisher. Even in the, I think, Mike, as much as Kurt had that issue as well, but like it went deep into the 60s even, I think, where the concept of somebody being a comic book professional, you just went to work, you went to the office, and that was your expectations.
Let me tell you,
even people who are of your generation, I've had conversations with folks of your generation who are like, well, I just thought I was going to keep getting work.
Right.
Well, the truth of it is, though, I mean, comic books is just like any other job, and none of it's guaranteed.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no promise of getting work. You have to, at the end of the day, you have to kind of it's all, and this is with any job, whatever. It's you're banking on yourself and you're supporting yourself, and and you've got to leverage, what you can in whatever way you can to keep working. It's there's no such thing as, even some of the creators who are like, here are the biggest thing, right? The biggest thing in comics. There's no promise that that's the case in a
You were the
year.
biggest thing at one point too.
I was never look. I was
You were
never once, and I will never say I was. I was never the biggest thing. What I was, and I can claim this, there was a moment in time where I was writing more comics for Marvel and more comics for DC than any other creator
That
at
is
the
fair.
same time.
That is fair.
And guess what? Gone.
Yep.
It happens for the most mercurial reasons, and that's fine. It is what the business is about. And again, thank goodness and again, that's just one of the, it's like it's another brick in the wall that I was building around myself to not be in comics anymore. And look at that, two musical references: Rascal Flatts, Pink Floyd. I
By the way, we do
bridge
want to,
gaps.
for people who are listening and not watching, Cullen was right. It is Rascal Flatts and been validated by the lovely Cindy Bunn.
That's right. I knew she would. I knew she'd know.
So it is a here's the thing about this, and we talk about this all the time on the show. It's tough business. It's a tough business where nothing's guaranteed, and you always have to continue. You always have to watch your back. You always have to watch your bottom line. You always have to watch everything around you. But the product is so loved and admired and wanted. I want it. I want everybody to make great comics. I want you to make great comics. I want to read them. But we're in a world where economics is the biggest part. And we talked about that earlier before we brought you into the show, just how crazy it all is. And we could spend hours talking about it.
Well, wait a minute. Let's make no mistake about this. Comic books, the comic book field, not the movies or anything else.
Yeah.
Comic book stories. Those of us who make that stuff are in show business. Our job is to entertain our audience. It doesn't have to be everybody. And to do so in a hopefully plausible way that won't hurt anybody. But the rules and laws of show business were all written on the bizarre world. Not the bizarre world we're living in now. That's bizarre world Earth 2. The real bizarre world governs show business where nothing makes sense except our role as entertaining the audience. That's the only part that makes sense. Focus on that, do a good job, and get lucky, because it's show business. For every great guitar player that gets out of the garage, there's 100 left in garages all over the country.
Yeah, I mean,
more than
yeah. Tell a great story, entertain folks, be kind and awesome, and look good doing it. That's how I live my life. That's
pretty much that's all you need. I want to shift gears just a little bit off to something a little bit more in the weeds. We talked about this before we went live. I don't know where Ripcord is going to end up, but I know that Dale uses a 5-issue arc. And you talked about the the difficulty in writing a 5-issue arc. What is your when you approach a book or approach a story or you give a pitch? Do you think in terms of length? Do you think in terms of breaking it down? Like here's the first part, or here's the long part, or and when you're tasked with you got 5 issues. How is that for you?
Uh, it is.
We
I
could steal an
always,
issue like Leia.
yeah, no, I always consider the length of the project and what it should be. And I don't know that I've ever pitched anything as an ongoing series. Nothing. Because nothing is ever guaranteed. So the longest running book I did was The Sixth Gun. I pitched it as a 6-issue series. Harrow County comes in close, 30. It comes in close in terms of independent stuff. Harrow County was 30 something issues. I pitched that as an initial 4-issue arc because you never know if you're going to get any more than that. The curse I have, the thing that's wrong up here is that I can't stop thinking about stories. And I can't stop thinking about, oh, how do I can expand this. I could keep going. I fall in love with characters and I want to keep telling stories about these characters or this world. And it's a real problem for me. It's a real challenge that I just can't seem to let any of these characters go. Um, even if I know, okay, I pitched Deluge, 5-issue story, done. I'm like, isn't it interesting? I could tell a different story in the world of Deluge. I can't help but think those things. It's just the way I am. And the sad part of it is, in most cases, there are stories upon stories upon stories that will never get told
Sure.
because it's just that's just not the way it works. It's not, again, publishers have to be able to make money. They have a limited slate that of books they can put on the shelf at any given time. So but yeah, no, I've never pitched an ongoing series, never once. I always pitch a 5-issue series, um, or a 6-issue series or a 4-issue series with the potential to continue. That most of my early pitches read, I am proposing a 5-issue series with potential to be ongoing. I mean, it was a common thing I wrote, uh, but I never pitch an ongoing because you never know if you're going to get it or not.
Right. What the ideas that come to you in terms of continuing it starts to happen when you're midway through it or a certain degree into the first project. You can't help yourself from thinking expansively. That's where creativity comes from.
Well, I work with a lot of creators who have the same sickness that I have, that they want to start,
Yeah.
everything we do, we're like, oh, how do we expand it? Where do we go with this? What do we do? And yeah, it's if I work on a book, say with Brian Hurt, who is my collaborator on The Sixth Gun and The Damned. Sure, let's say we pitch a 5-issue series. Brian and I are going to sit and talk until it's a 60-issue series because that's just what we do. We're going to build it out. We're going to build a world, and we're going to want to explore that world, although we may never get the chance to.
I have long wanted to publish a book of just the emails between myself and other creators about particular series, about particular stories. Now, sometimes those things are absolutely hilarious. Sometimes those things are a little bit embarrassing, but really interesting. But the stuff that we did back and forth by email between John Ostrander and Timothy Truman and me for over Grimjack for a number of different publishers, or with a number of different publishers, those are spectacular books, but I think the emails are better.
I don't know if my emails are very. I've been accused of being too curt in my emails unintentionally. It's not that I'm being a. It's not that I don't want to talk with people. I've always viewed email as this tool of efficiency. So I think my emails are a little too curt to be entertaining, because it's always like, "Good job, cool." I had an editor. I had an editor one time, and this was not an intentional thing on my part, that called me out on it. And thank God that, here's to you, Matt Idelson, because he was just a great editor. And when I was writing Sinestro, he even mentioned, he said, "Hey, Cullen, do you know that every time you respond to the art on an issue, it's the exact same sentence?" And I was like, "I didn't realize that, but thank you for telling me." Thank you for telling me that. And I still look, and even though I'm aware of it now, thanks to Matt, I still do it sometimes, and it's not me trying to be dismissive. It's just, I'm like, nobody's got time for this nonsense. We all need to get moving, don't we?
Yeah, like,
You must be a lot of fun with text.
Oh,
he's terrible.
I'm the worst with
He's
text.
terrible.
I'm the worst.
5
I
days
hate
later,
them.
you get a response.
My favorite
We'll meet you at
response.
4 o'clock. Well, I don't know where it is.
My favorite text response is just like, "Ha, HA," just ha. Not even, it doesn't even have to be a joke. It can be a serious moment. Hey, folks, my dad's in the hospital. Ha. I'm like, I don't know.
Wow.
I never said, oh, I did earlier say I was a good person. No, I said I became less of a good person.
Less
So,
of a good person.
see,
the technology
You're
technology that causes it.
deteriorating. You're deteriorating at it.
in so many ways. In so many ways.
We talked about the 5-issue arcs. You are currently right now pretty much focusing on creator-owned stories.
Yes.
But to call back, like, for someone who has done quite a bit of work for hire work, how did you approach work for hire story beginnings versus how you approach a creator-owned story beginning?
Well, I mean, it just depends on the different on the story you're working on.
I get it, because you may have a situation where an editor says, "Here, I want you to tell me a story about this particular character, and here's some parameters," right? Or let's say we take that out and just say, "Here, give me your pitch for this character," and then or because with parameters, obviously it's different because you have to go within that.
Well, there's a lot more. Look, there's a lot more research that goes into it, because when you're asked to pitch an existing character, when I'm asked to pitch an existing character, at least, I want to see what came before. I want to see what were sort of the iconic stories of the character, what made readers love those characters. So I'll do a lot more. I really do deep dives into these characters, and there was a moment, for whatever reason, I was getting told, I was getting called, "Hey, you're gonna write Hulk." So I'd go and I'd just buy all this Hulk stuff, and then I'd get a call, "Hey, no, it's not Hulk, it's Ghost Rider," and I'd go and I'd buy all this Ghost Rider stuff and read it all, and I was even like, "Are you guys just trying to goose the numbers? Are you getting your omnibus sales up because you're just telling me to write these characters?" But I always want to honor what's come before and then put my own spin on it if I can. There's sort of the balancing act. And if you're writing a character, most of the work for hire stuff I've done. Okay, so if I'm writing X-Men, people know the X-Men. So when I'm starting a first arc, it's about telling the story and kind of establishing the ground rules of what that arc is going to be, and what's going to happen, what the tone of the series is going to be, how I approach the characters, things like that. But a lot of the character building stuff is, or at least the expectation setting of the characters is already established. And look, I've gotten mean emails because in my X-Men Blue series, Emma Frost was a villain and she's not a villain anymore. And how dare you? Yeah, well, before I started writing it, she was a villain. And what am I supposed to do?
Right.
Just ignore that? Do you want continuity or not? And if you don't, that's fine. That's fine.
Always a
Just,
villain.
yes, by the way, Emma Frost, villain. It's okay. It's okay to have a likable villain. But there are things I'm not gonna throw the baby out with the bathwater when I take over a series because maybe I don't like it. Maybe I don't like Emma Frost as a villain, but that's where it was. The beauty of Marvel or DC is that you follow a continuity. That's what you want, right?
Well, but what about the ability? Did you ever take the ability to change continuity to the way you wanted to?
I would change continuity from time to time, but I'd try. I'm not saying I always did it well, but let's say I wanted Emma to be a little more interesting at the end, or a little more nuanced and not a villain. I got to
Maybe you
step
didn't
to
want
it. I
Havoc
can't
to be
just.
a villain anymore.
Well, hey, guess who reverted Havoc back to a hero? Your boy Cullen. But I didn't just do it on page 1, even though I didn't want Havoc to be a villain. He was a villain when I started writing that series. And it's not, what? Part of my job is if I'm going to change something, I have to honor what's come before. And I think I can't help but think, we live in this world where we want things now, change it now. I'm going to binge watch this. And then I think, and then this is the one I always go back to, when whatever issue it was of Uncanny X-Men, when Storm lost her powers, I need people to understand how shocking that was to me as a reader and how devastating that was. And then I said,
How
I sure,
long?
I was like, I sure hope she gets her powers back next issue.
Next issue.
And then that did not
It
happen.
did not.
It was years, and some of the best stories came from those years.
That without that, Storm isn't Storm. It's just
Right.
so much of that. You're right.
Well, I mean, that's true for most costume characters. The trick is to finesse your evolution so that, and it's really a trick. It's not easy, so that you respect what has preceded, but you can go forward in a contemporary manner that fits the abilities of the creators of the story.
Yeah.
This is called having your cake and eating it too.
Right. But and the difficulty nowadays is most writers, most creative teams don't get
40 issues to tell the
40
Judas.
issues to tell that story. You don't get that. And
Right. I mean, the greatest slow burn in comics is the Judas contract that started in issue 1 of the New Teen Titans and ended in issue 43 of Tales of the Teen Titans.
Yeah, I mean those were epic runs, and there's a reason those were epic runs. And we don't live in that world anymore. That's just not what readers are expecting, and more than what readers are expecting, it's what publishers are accepting of, because they're like, let's restart. A new number 1 sells better than an issue 13. Let's reboot it.
Well, I mean, also that concept of how you approach a story didn't exist then. I mean, it's changed. When you came into the business, there was I mean, Mike, you didn't ask people what's your 5-issue arc, your 1988.
Well, I might have. if it was supposed
Was
to be
that-
a mini series or something.
Well, but it
sure.
wasn't. It wasn't.
No, but it can happen. You start off with, oh, let's do a few issues, see where it goes, and realize, hey, we're going someplace really nice. And then the trick for me is to still be working for that company when we get there. Uh, if I was still at First Comics, Dynamo Joe number 250 would be out this week.
Hell yeah, it would have, and I'd have loved every second of it.
Yeah.
I don't think Doug's watching tonight.
Look, I love that old Dynamo Joe. I got to be honest. I thought that character was
Me
that.
too.
I mean, I was a Grimjack. I mean, Grimjack and Dynamo Joe, both of them were like. I remember loving Dynamo Joe before I ever read the comic because the ads. I liked the design of the robot so much that.
Yeah. Well, Duggan's great at that, but I really enjoyed both those series. I enjoyed most of the work I've done for First and for DC and the others, but those are very special. Not because I'm tight with the people who do that, because that's true for just about everything we do in this business. If we're not friends, we will be soon. It's
or enemies.
Well, and the enemies, not just or.
Sometimes
Also, and
sometimes just or.
Yeah, sometimes just or. Not that big compared to other jobs. At least
I'm very cut and dry. It's friend or enemy, and and the thing that can turn you from a friend to an enemy, it can be very, very. It does not have to be a big step. So, I mean, I know this.
All right.
I recognize this as a failing on my part, but
I will watch myself though. I appreciate your giving me the heads up. It's the uniqueness, which is now a word, of the story and the concept and the execution. Now, unique is a one-shot thing. This is unique. You can't compare it to anything else. So when I say uniqueness, I mean that in a comic book sense, where we have something so cool we can run with it forever.
Yeah, I agree. I want to come back to we talked about work for hire. How do you approach one of the things for people who are watching? I've heard Jamie and Jeremy talk about when they approach you, they're like, okay, well, there's just 8 million stories and ideas coming from Cullen. Like, I mean, how he's just constant, like, here's this. How do you approach working up a story pitch or idea that's something that comes from you?
I've said this elsewhere. I try to come up with at least one new story idea a day. And some of these ideas are really bad and some of them are really good. And some will never see the light of day, and some will never see the light of day for the right reasons, and some will never see the light of day despite my best efforts.
How do you come up? How do you do that? Do you write it down? Do you write down a new idea a day?
I try to. I have somewhere right over here is an index card box full of ideas. Most of them are pretty terrible, but yeah, I mean, and
That's a book.
my philosophy on this is just embrace the stupid, because most ideas are pretty stupid on the surface. And that's the thing. It's like, don't be afraid to be dumb. It's never been a problem for me. I'm really good at being dumb. So I just come up with some of the stupidest ideas, and I'll write them out. Sometimes they're a sentence, sometimes they're a paragraph, and sometimes that's all they ever will be. And sometimes they just make me chuckle. It's just something that, oh, this is funny. And they stick with me for years and years and years. And then, here's a moment I can pitch that stupid idea. Let's hit it and see what happens. I mean, I just pitched something to Ignition that I think is the dumbest thing, and I love every bit of it. And those suckers, they bit. So, but then the challenge is, I pitched a dumb idea, and the publisher wants to do it. Now I have to make it work as a story in a way that is satisfying and entertaining, and maybe has something to say. So there's it's a challenge. It's an endless cycle of challenges. I'm challenging the publisher. I dare you to take this dumb idea. And then when they do, they're daring me to do something with it that makes it worthwhile.
Do you remember Marshall Rogers and Steve Englehart and the Joker and the Laughing Fish?
Mm-hmm.
Imagine that story being pitched.
Yeah. I mean, it's
what?
I mean, I try not to pitch the worst things ever. Like like I said, there's ideas in this box of index cards that I would never pitch to anybody. But I kind of, when I'm talking to a publisher and they say, okay, do you want to talk about what's next? And I'll send them a few ideas. I usually throw at least one dumb idea in there to see what happens.
And how often does that dumb idea get picked up?
What I've discovered in pitching, in over the years of pitching, like, let's say I pitch 4 or 5 things at one time. Here are 4 or 5 ideas to pitch. If I say to myself, this is the dumb one, this is the one no one in their right mind would ever accept, that's always the one that they gravitate towards first. Every time. And that's what I think a lot of people get so worked up and wound up. A lot of creators, I got to come up with just a smart pitch. You don't. You can come up with it. It's okay to risk being dumb, because here's a simple fact of life. You're gonna be dumb anyway. In something, in some way, you are gonna screw up, and you're gonna be dumb, and it's okay, because we all are.
And even if you didn't screw up, some people are gonna find it dumb.
Well, yeah, there's always gonna be some people who find it dumb. But yeah, every time, if I send more than one pitch, the one that I say is, this is like the filler. It's like, this is the one no one will want. That's the one they want. Every time.
That's awesome.
There's a statement that comes to mind, which is, never pitch something you don't want to do.
Well, that's true.
That's true. Yeah, no. Even the dumb ideas are stories I want to tell, even if it's like,
right,
how am I going to do this now? It has to be something that entertains me, or I don't want to, I don't want to pitch it.
Exactly. Exactly.
So you're a writer, you're writing comics, you've written other things. You've also lately, and I want to bring this up, we have the colonoscopy.
Speaking of dumb things, the title
this won't hurt a bit. So tell us about the colonoscopy and what you've learned about that.
So the colonoscopy is a video podcast and audio podcast that I've been doing, where I kind of just explore elements of the horror genre, things the things I love, the things that make me love horror. And every episode I'm joined by a co-host, or a different co-host, or a couple of co-hosts, and we just talk about different subgenres of horror. We talk about vampires or witches or ghosts, and we make several recommendations to each other that we don't. What I don't do is I say, okay, let me know all your recommendations, but instead I say, hit me with 5 to 6 recommendations that are going to surprise me, and I'll hit you with 5 to 6 that maybe they'll surprise you. So we make some recommendations, and it's real low key. It's real casual. It's not. It is not a It is not a scripted or overproduced thing. It's just me talking to people like I would talk to anyone if we were sitting around just chatting about horror movies and horror books and horror games and just the things we love. And it's been a lot of fun. I just last night wrapped up recording on my 9th, 10th, and 11th episodes, which will be coming out soon. So there are 8 episodes out on my YouTube channel now, and there'll be, it's going to be something that'll continue. I put a new episode out about once a month.
Cool.
How do you like that?
Oh, I love it. It's great, and I get to talk to, some folks that I'm talking to I've known for forever. Some folks are very new. I just did an episode with Dan Brereton, the artist and writer of Nocturnals, who Dan's been one of my favorite creators for years, and I've known him for a long time. We worked on the first thing I did for Marvel was Dan was the artist on, which was really surreal for me as a comic book fan. And then I also did an episode with Grady Hendrix, the author of books like We Sold Our Soul and How to Sell a Haunted House, who's one of my favorite authors. So I get a real opportunity to talk to a lot of different creators and tastemakers in the horror genre.
Well, that's important because it's an outlet for you to express yourself in ways you can't in your paid work, in your day job. And it's important to get that stuff out. You do have to have been around long enough to earn the privilege of annoying people.
I mean, I was annoying people long before I ever earned it, and I don't know that anyone thinks I've earned it, but
you just got to be good at it.
Well, just like I said earlier, with anything I've done professionally, I don't know a thing about doing a podcast or a video for YouTube. But I'm gonna just try and see what happens.
We're 144 episodes in, and we have no idea what we're doing.
Man, doing my 10th up to episode 11th last night felt like it was pulling teeth just to make all the elements come together to get it all done. So it's a lot of work to do that kind of stuff.
Sure.
Yeah, I spent quite some time being a broadcaster on radio and internet radio as well, but on commercial radio. And before I joined Bob on this, I actually had to physically, mentally unlearn some of the professional broadcast stuff, because that's not what podcasting is about. It's a different medium. And if you're going to be using a different medium or a different storytelling form, respect it before you do it.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Bob, did you pitch this as not broadcasting, but bobcasting? Because if you didn't, you should have.
Well, it is. I'll tell you the way we are flying, but we've been flying by our seat of our pants from the very beginning. Because when Mike said, "Hey, I think maybe we could do a podcast together," and I said, "Well, I've been waiting for you to say that for a while." And then I'm like, okay, well, what are we gonna do? How are we gonna? And we started thinking about like the traditional kind of way that people do things, and how and we tossed that around for almost a year. And then I'm like, you know what? Fuck it, we're going live. Let's go.
Right, do it.
and it's been great since then.
Yeah, and you can chalk any project to death.
Yeah. I don't know. So, Cullen, you're slowing down. I don't know if you're having issues with your wireless or whatever.
I shouldn't be, but okay.
I
seem slow.
You're clicking in and out. We can hear you pretty well. So that's
kind of cool.
All right.
It's like you're doing a British,
robotic.
A 1960s British opening, TV opening.
Well, that may mean that the wind is blowing here, because if the wind blows, my internet starts to twitch.
Yeah.
No, you're definitely better. I do want to. We're going to wrap up pretty soon, but I do want you to give a little bit about. There is a next Ignition book that's coming out. What can you tell us about the thing that hasn't been announced yet? It's going to be announced soon, but I want people give a tease.
All right. I don't know how much they're willing to let me that they want me to say, but I'll say it, and I'll ask for forgiveness afterwards if I did. So I've got a new book coming out. It's going to be gorgeous. It's another shocker horror series. But if you have ever lived in a community, a neighborhood, and have had an HOA,
Oh,
and if you hated them, then this is the book for you. This is the book about how evil your HOA was. That's the next thing that I've got coming out from Ignition. Without revealing too much about it. That's it's for people who don't like their HOA. In fact, my recommendation would be when the book solicits, order copies and deliver them into the mailboxes of everyone in your HOA, and just deliver them.
I think that sounds like a plan.
Sounds like revenge.
You
Look, they know they're awful.
Yeah.
you know, part of you kind of scaling back before coming back with Ignition was you weren't at a lot of shows, you didn't do a lot of conventions. That's changing a little bit. You were at Planet Comic Con. Is your next one going to be Heroes? Or you got something else in between?
So yeah, my convention and appearance schedule is definitely ramping up much more than it has been in 5, 6, 8 years. My next convention is Tremendicon in Springfield, Missouri, and then right after that I'm at Indiana Comic Con, and then Heroes Con.
Okay.
And then many more conventions and store appearances after that. I'm definitely ramping that up. I'll never be one of those folks who is like at a convention every weekend and is just in that grind. I respect the folks who can do it. I can't and get any work done, but I am adding a lot of conventions, and that'll be the case going into for the rest of this year, and then pretty much throughout next year too. I'll be doing many more conventions.
Where is the Indiana Indiana show?
It's in Indianapolis.
That's a nice
It
town.
is. Yeah, it's I can't remember the dates without looking at it, but it's so I'm doing Tremendicon at the end of May in Springfield, Missouri, and then Indiana Comic Con is in early June 5th through 7th. And then Heroes Con.
That's 3 weeks in a
row. Oh, believe me, I know. I look at my schedule and I'm like, oh no, what did I do? This isn't what I intended.
I will tell you that I've planned my summer around, like, so I have a lot of work that I do outside of my day job stuff, and so I have work, Heroes Con, work, and so it's not like I get a free weekend to go to Heroes Con.
Right. No, it's
let me tell you, my entire life between about 1969 and 2025 was one long, never-ending convention. I've had wonderful times, but it does sap you of your strength.
It's not a lot. It's a wonderful time, but it is in no way relaxing.
Well, it's not exactly relaxing. Right. And it's not I don't go to conventions to make money. I'm not going to make money selling books at a convention table.
Right.
I could stay home and work on scripts. But what conventions do for me is it introduces me to it gets me face-to-face time with readers, which I really, really like. And if it's a great convention, they are physically exhausting and they can sap your strength. A good convention, I don't leave a good convention without feeling sort of inspired and energized and
Yes,
interested in doing something and working on something and just talk about
absolutely.
ideas and not just ideas for, new stories, but ideas of how I could approach things, how I could promote, and just, that stuff's always that's the biggest, for me, the biggest draw of conventions is that sort of high I get for generating new, just getting excited about things again. And I
I
even,
agree with you.
I just a couple of years ago, I started going to conventions just for fun. Like I haven't been to to like a convention of any sort that wasn't work related in 20 years or more. Like in that I wasn't, setting up or trying to network or something. But I went a couple of years ago to a convention just for fun, and it was weird how much it reminded me, I actually like this. I actually enjoy this. I used to be the guy when I'd go to these conventions for work, I'd see people standing in line. I'm like, what is wrong with them? Why are they standing in line for something stupid? This is dumb. Don't stand in line, folks. And then I went to this convention in Texas a couple of years ago, and I stood in line from like 6 a.m. until like 2 p.m. with my buddies. I was like, this is the best time I've ever had at a convention, standing in line. And I think sometimes you have to remind yourself, if you're not some sort of monster, that you genuinely enjoy this stuff. And so, yeah, even though I have a busy convention schedule, there's a couple that aren't on my schedule that I'm just going to just to have fun. That I'm like, okay, well, I'm going with
Well, good
friends
for
just to
you.
have fun at conventions.
Good for you. One of the thrills I've gotten out of conventions these last several years is going to people's tables, in Artist Alley, newcomers, looking at their stuff and finding some potential gorgeous stuff.
And setting it on fire. Setting it on
Setting it
fire
on
and
fire.
ruining their dreams.
That's
What
right.
I like
That's
too.
right.
Thank goodness
That's
somebody
right.
else said it.
That's right. And if I can poison your puppy on the way out, let me know.
We need to wrap up, but before we go, there I don't know if you saw. So there was a question: are you going to be giving copies to your HOA of that new book?
My plan is to give every one of them a copy of the book. I want everyone who is in the HOA to see that book. Make no
Excellent.
mistake, the members of my HOA already know what I think of them. So,
I did not doubt that, to be honest with
I
you.
mean, they already know that if they hadn't thought that Cullen Bunn, a writer, was already doing something in story form against them, then they're not very smart. So they probably didn't realize it. But but yeah, my plan is to give, I'll get my comps, and I'm going to take those comps and just distribute them. I'm just going to go to every mailbox, drop one off for them.
I admire that.
Okay, Colin, this has been so much fun. We have to do this sooner than 2 years next time.
Yeah, no, anytime. This was had a good time. Had a good time.
All right. Me too.
Yeah.
And I'll see you in Charlotte. And
yeah.
And we're looking forward to all the more books coming.
Yeah, sounds great. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for coming here. We appreciate it too.
Sorry, my internet decided to be uncooperative.
Yeah, we made it work.
Yeah, I think it's something we said.
This is Bobcasting. That's how it works.
That's right. Bobcasting.
All right, talk to you later.
Thanks again, Bob.
All right. All right, folks. This is
taking next weekend off. You say?
Listen, you're gonna have to tune in. It's possible. I want to let people know it's possible we take next week off. We don't have a guest as of now. That doesn't mean we might not find someone to fill in. If you've been a fan of the show and you're paying attention, we did have a guest planned. That has been moved. So next week was supposed to be John Lehman and Rob Guillory. They have a new project coming out. It's going to be a Kickstarter, but they're delaying it a couple weeks. They wanted to push off their appearance to June 2nd. So they will be here. So if you were hoping and looking for John Lehman and Rob Guillory, they will be here on June 2nd.
In a
So
couple of weeks.
A couple of weeks, yeah. We're gonna. So we don't have a guest set for next week. We may take the week off, but we will definitely be back on the 26th. I don't have a guest yet there, but we'll be here whether we do or not.
Okay.
So it's going to be Tuesdays, and if there's Tuesdays, there's podcasts and SquadCasts, and so we're very thankful for all of you folks who are watching. If you are new here, please click the subscribe or follow or whatever it is you're watching. We do this every week. We love to have great conversations with people, talking about comics, talking about pop culture, talking about movies and TV, and what makes our love for these stories and telling stories. Like, that's really what it's all about.
That's right.
How do we get there?
We tell stories about telling stories.
Right. That's the best kind of stories.
That's right. Thanks, all you folks out there in Etherland. We, as always, do appreciate it.
All right. And read more comics because they're good for you. Everybody take it easy, and we'll see you later.
All right.
This has been a production of the Pop Culture Squad Network. PopCultureSquad.com. How do you nerd?